actually want to continue with our CSS series. So in today we'll be looking at CSS Box Model. So I've actually created this HTML page and I have this CSS file here too, though nothing is there yet for now. So now what is CSS Box Model? CSS Box Model actually describe an HTML element like a kind of box, and the main purpose of CSS Box Model is to describe the dimension and the layout of an element in relation to other elements on the page. So now the CSS Box Model is actually made up of about four components. We have the content, we have the padding, we have the margin, we also have the border. So let's also see this with a code. And also let me open up this in my my browser so that we see the CSS Box Model from the browser console window. So if I should just inspect this page in my developer console, so if I scroll down here, you will see here this is the box for this particular element. So the box adds a margin. You see the margin is the one that is highlighted as I put my mouse on it. We have the border, though the border is transparent, so we need to activate it. So when we write the code, you will see it in action. It's actually the area that covers the padding and the content, while the padding is the space between the content and the border, while the content area it's where the actual image or text. So let's actually demonstrate this with a code. So going back to my Visual Studio Code, so here in my CSS file, I want to select this div element that has this class container on it. So I will reference the container class container. So I will specify the width for the element. I'll give it something like 300 px. Then I'll specify the padding to be, let's say, 30 px. So if we look at this, let me just give it a border so that we can see this in border. I'll give it something like 2 px. That's the width. The style is solid. Then the color, let me give it red. So if you check it out in the browser, this is the element. Now this is the border. Now the padding is the space between the content and the border. This empty. If I should remove the padding now, here, let's comment it out and check. You will find out that the element is very close. Okay, there's no space between the content and the border. So it's the padding that actually creates a space between the content and the border. So let me activate it again and set the border on it. So the space that is created is what is 30 px. And when I specify the padding here, that means I've actually specified for the four sides. That is the top, the right, the left, and the bottom. You can actually specify that individually. Let's say 20 px. Okay, if you check it out now, it's just for the top padding is 20 px, like I specified there. I can also specify padding bottom. Let's say like let me specify that one to be like 40 px. If you check it out now, the bottom padding is what, 40 px. So I want to specify for the left and also for the right. We have padding left, let's say like 50 px for now. Okay, just for illustration. Then the padding on the left is 50. So I can also specify padding for the right, let's say like 10 px for now, just for illustration purpose. You could see the padding on the right px. So now also for the margin now, the margin is actually, let me create another element so that we can see how the margin is illustrated. So I'll add another content to this now. Okay, then I'll name this one to be box 2 here. Instead of container, I'll say box 2. Okay, so if you check it out in the browser, look at it, there's nothing there. So let me style box 2 there separately. Now say box, sorry, it's the class box 2. Okay, so here I'll give it a width of, let's say, like 400 px. Then here I'll specify the border to be px, then solid, then the color to be gray to differentiate it from the first one. Then I'll not specify. Okay, let's check it out now. You could see now this is the first box, this CSS box model. Then the second one here now specified with gray here though. Now if you check it out, there is no space between the first box and the second box. So now it's the margin that will actually create the space outside the border, then to also push the adjacent element away from this element. That is, it creates the space between those elements. So I would put margin for instance on this now. Let me set the margin to be like 40 px. That will create a 40. Can you see now? The margin around, that is the space, the transparent space outside the border, is called what? The margin now. So I've specified the margin at 40 px. The same property goes for the top, bottom, and left and right. If I want to specify specifically, let's say I want to say the top padding, sorry, margin to be like 10. That's a different unit for the top, bottom, left, and right. So I could actually do that instead of using this shorthand method. I can use the different property. Let's say margin top. If I want the top margin to be, let's say, 20 px, then I can specify the margin on the right, let's say like 40 px. Then I can specify the margin, let's say left here, let's say something like 50 px. So this does not actually has any effect for now because there's no any other element on the left hand side here. Then let's say margin, or just for illustration purpose, let's say margin bottom. Then I can give it something like px again. So you could see now, can you see the top margin, the left, the right, and also what, the bottom margin now. Okay, so one more thing I also want to explain about, for instance, if I just specify for the width now, so if I actually want to calculate the total width for this particular element here, this box, let me just edit the content within it and just say box model. Let me specify to be 2 to differentiate from the first one. Okay, now so now if I want to calculate the total width for this particular element now, okay, let me also give it a padding. Let me specify the padding to be, let's say something like 40 px for now. Okay, now so if I want to calculate the total width for this element now, so I have to, this width that I specified here, it's just the width for the content. The actual width that I specified, which is 400 px, plus, okay, the border, that's the right border right, okay, plus border left, okay, plus padding right, okay, plus padding left. Okay, so this gives me the total width for this particular element. So that should give me something like here, let's say 400 plus, we have 40 on the left for the padding, plus 40 on the right, plus the margin is what, sorry, border rather is 3, then 3 on the left as well. So the total here is about 486. That is the total width for this particular element. Now the margin is not actually inclusive because it is spaced outside the border. Now that is called the standard box model. There is another one called alternative box model. For instance, if I want to use the alternative box model, I have to specifically specify another CSS property using the box sizing. If I set the box sizing, by default it's content box. That means when I specify the width or the height, I'm specifying the width and the height for the content. But when I change the box sizing to border box, I'm saying that the padding and the border are included in the width. So now the total width for this element is 300 px as it, because I've specify that the box sizing should be border box. The padding and the border that I've added to it would be subtracted from the width that I've specified. Using a box sizing model helps you to predict the way the elements would behave on the page. So it's good to specify the box sizing as well so that it's easier for you when you are trying to lay out your page. That is just about a CSS box model. Okay, thank you.